we are live from Gallifrey on this nice Sunday afternoon. Timey-wimey. I don't know what time it is. What's up, companion?
Oh, nothing.
My companion
Everything's
is
fine.
absolutely speechless.
No. Just playing. Well, what's happening is that we are here, like you said, live from Gallifrey, and we are excited to speak about this week's episode.
And DDT cosplay already mentioned it in the chat, but we are going to be talking about Moffat's first episode. I'm super excited. This is one of my favorites. I've been looking forward to this one in particular from the beginning.
Get ready to be creeped out, intrigued, and concerned all at the same time.
It is.
Because that's what Moffat does. No joke, and I love it every time. Really
and it's
do.
a little bit of history wound up in this kind of like the Queen Victoria one that was
Oh, yeah,
interesting.
that's true.
So we have Renette, which is Madame de Pompadour. I'm not saying that right because I am not French and my pronunciation is terrible.
Madame de Pompadour. Pompadour.
All right. But yeah, so we have Renette,
French.
and who was basically groomed like in history to be like, what do you say? A mistress? Okay.
All right. Fine.
Both of those
Fine.
work.
Mistress is better. Mistress is much better. That sounds like...
For Louis the 15th, you know?
Yeah.
And I love it because I don't know much about history, and honestly, like, I didn't know that much about her, but, like, her character is so incredibly articulate and witty and, you know, kind of confident.
Well, dude.
From childhood through adulthood, and she is such an affable character. I absolutely love her.
She immediately, should have been the companion. I think we could have been like, oh, Rose, sorry, something happened, and I've got to drop you off at home. And he came back and got her. That would have been great. I would have loved it because she is definitely, as you said, amiable. She's someone I can definitely see the Doctor getting together along with. Well, even though clearly the Doctor was in love.
Yeah, he was immediately smitten with her, taking quite a fancy to Renette, right? Pretty immediately. Even kind of before he knew who she was, he had like an instant chemistry with her, and I thought that was super interesting, especially coming off the heels of the Sarah Jane episode where we see Rose being pretty openly jealous with Sarah Jane. Yeah, and this is really immediately I guess Rose wasn't really there to witness their interactions because he would go through the fireplace and she would be in the spaceship still.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I'm pretty sure Rose would be like, you know, raising hell's fire until she saw what was really going on in there.
True, but I mean, see, this is the thing. So she didn't see the first time he started to interact with her, even as a child. Yes. And then later as it grew, and she only got to see more or less the tail end of it. And immediately you could tell she was still kind of jealous. Yeah. And
even though Mickey is along as a companion on these last couple episodes. Mickey is obviously not enough for Rose. Rose is, you know, I wouldn't want to say like falls in the polyamorous category of relationships. She loves the Doctor. She loved Adam. She loves Mickey. She loves every cute guy. I don't know if that's the right term.
She loves everybody.
That's Polly.
Whoa. Wow.
Okay.
Wow. That's pick and choose your battles. My gosh, people here in the studio. God.
Rose does not. She doesn't get around, but she definitely wants to get around. And apparently so does our Doctor. Our Doctor had a thing with Sarah Jane. Obviously was super flirtatious with Rose and immediately smitten I love that word.
Did you see smitten, right?
Yes.
Now, did you see the types of shadows with Tennant and the girl in the fireplace, as well as we have with Smith and what's her name? Redhead ginger.
Pond?
Yeah.
Amy Pond?
Think about it. I kept seeing her as a child popping in, popping out at different times.
He does that a lot with the childhood, and we'll see that with the Christmas Story one too. That he comes in at a very influential time in their childhood or in their life, only to change like the turn of events as they get older, and it's super interesting to watch, and I absolutely love it.
But the thing is, now we have the Doctor who clearly was smitten by both of these women. When you think about it, match them up, you got Pond and you have her, and when you think about it, it's kind of like, was the Doctor grooming them?
You do kind of get that. I feel like a little bit less with Renette. Does try to help her as a child, but it's not until she grows into a full-grown woman. And
that even does find an interest.
And the thing is, she's absolutely charming. How can you not love her?
Honestly, no. I mean, I would. it's one of my first favorite episodes, really, because of her.
And this
She's
is
amazing.
why I was looking forward to Moffat. And you can say what you will for those who are, a little more critical of the Moffat era of Doctor Who,
Very
with
true.
their timey-wimey and no consistency with the rules that he sets up. But man, is he able to pull out and provoke emotion in the audience like no other. In
That's
a very
very true.
short amount of time, in a very short episode, was able to move me to have like, oh, I have feelings. My cold dead heart is beating.
It's beating. It's amazing. Yeah,
And
that's
I
true.
love it. And I absolutely love it. And I don't know. And I really like how they set up Renette to be kind of a foil for Rose, who is kind of around the same age when she's actually an adult and, she's groomed to be Louis the 15th, like, I don't know, paramour or whatever you
Yeah,
want to
whatever you
call
want to
her.
call it. They
Yeah.
did call her Paramore one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and it's just like she's so mature and so clever and witty and charming, and you have Rose and Mickey who are so immature, and they're like, hey, the doctor told us not to run off and to stay here because it's safe. Let's grab guns and run around like crazy people.
Young,
And it's
petulant
like-
youth.
And that's what it is, and it's crazy to see that and to see how the doctor is smitten, obviously, with Renette, and maybe weaning off of Rose and be like, yeah, bring Mickey along because I'm gonna dump both of you off and you're gonna be quite devastated when the time comes.
Very true.
And that's how I was feeling, like we know that that's not what happens, and he totally bends over
Well,
backwards
yeah, he
for
bends over
Rose,
backwards.
but,
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know.
That's true. But I mean, still though, all of that we have just leading up and gearing up to it, it's just like all that we're going through. You can clearly see that the doctor definitely does kind of hold her in high esteem,
Yeah.
and he's connected to her in a way that actually is different than how he's connected to Rose. And Rose sees it. Rose feels it, and she knows it, and Mickey also sees it. And Mickey is trying to be a person that respects it, while Rose is trying to be someone that's trying to put the kibosh on it.
Yeah.
And it's just because of the jealousy.
And the thing is, we absolutely see it because the doctor in this particular episode does choose a side, and he obviously chooses to be with Renette because in his mind, the portal will close when he gets on gallant white horse and goes through the mirror. He knows that Rose and Mickey will be stuck in time on that dead spaceship with nowhere to go. They don't know how to pilot the TARDIS, which I mean, you could pull levers and stuff and whatever.
True.
But the doctor makes a conscious decision that I will stay with Renette, I will save her, and forsake my two companions.
But ultimately, though, the thing is, remember, with the TARDIS, ultimately, after a while, the TARDIS would figure out what was going on. It would psychically link with them and show them how to pretty much fly and get them to where they need to get to, at least.
But we don't know that in this series.
Oh,
so
true.
far,
We don't know that.
we
That's
don't
true.
know
That's
that.
true.
The audience doesn't know that. Rose doesn't know that. Mickey doesn't know. Maybe the doctor does, but
Oh, the
I feel
doctor
like
does?
he kind of does. But he's always like, oh, because you're psychically linked and all of this other stuff. But it comes to him not as the forefront of thought, but as an afterthought of like, oh, they're gonna end up being okay. But I like how Moffat is like, no, he made a conscious decision to leave Rose and Mickey, the petulant children who are incredibly immature and annoying, to save our main...
Save someone who actually can make a change in the world.
Who does, who's a patron of the arts, incredibly smart and learned and knows... I don't know, I just love her. There's just something so charismatic about this character, and I can't quite pinpoint what it is, but her quick wit, I love it.
I love the fact that she was able to go ahead and read the doctor's mind. She figured out the whole thing about, an open door can be opened on both. It can be traveled through on both sides. I was like, oh my God! I love every time I hear that line. I'm just like, yo, you pretty much outsmarted a Time Lord when it came to that whole psychic link.
And he doesn't even know.
Established.
And I really like that. And I feel like that's where the emotional heart of this particular episode comes in. Like, yes, because we like her, and it ends with her death, which is sad in and of itself. But because the doctor is so kind of closed up and doesn't want to relate what he had to do to make it this far in life of the Time War, and that he had to kill his entire race to save them, to save the world from Daleks. And he's living with this guilt and doesn't want to open up to anyone. So when she's like, you're so, and he thinks that she's talking to herself so lonely. The childhood is so lonely. And you realize she's talking about him.
No, I'm
and
talking
it's
about you, buddy.
yeah, and it's I've never felt that way before. And I think without having to open up and knowing that she understands what he's gone through, had that immediate connection for him. So we feel his loss in her character. Where it's you were my only confidant, even though I didn't mean for that to happen. You were, and you're the first person that I let in since Time War.
That's so true. And I didn't think about that. And also that you're the first person that saw me for who I am or what I've done.
And still accept me.
Yes, you didn't judge me and cast me out.
Genocided like 2 races simultaneously to save the world, and you didn't care about that. It was just like, I am so sad that you have to be alone in this world. And we see it a little bit previously, which this buildup is so great because like when Rose is like, hey, you know, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm an alien. I regenerate. I live forever. Humans grow old and die. And he says it to Sarah Jane and to Rose and how he doesn't want to open up and get connected. So the fact that he made the choice in this episode to be with her and to save her, it makes it just so heartbreaking at the end. And Moffat is brilliant at that kind of evoking emotion.
And it's great because the thing is, ultimately what he's saying is no happy endings, guys. Like, it's one of the things he's kind of getting at, where it's like, yeah, we know that the doctor, et cetera, but unfortunately, you have to understand the doctor's life and what he's literally purposed himself to do. Like, he did the whole thing when he spoke to her and he said, well, what's in a name?
Yes.
Kind of in that way. And then she was like, yeah, well, then, like, almost like, you know, like naming yourself the doctor. And it was like, oh, shoot, you're right. Like, you know, what is in a name? If you're still, it depends on what you actually do, not the name itself. And it was just like, damn, that's true.
It is. And DDT Cosplay says some of the best characters are the companions that could have been.
Yeah.
For example, the girl from the God Complex, like several seasons down the line that we're going to be discussing.
Oh my God, I love her.
And I love it. And these are kind of all of the things too, because we see this, like how you're relating to the Pawn, to Amy Pond, the girl who waited. And that's kind of her thing. Like, she just waits for the doctor to come back up. So you can definitely see parallels. And I feel like from this episode and from the Sally Sparrow episode Blink, he pulled those 2 characters and is like, I did not get to develop them enough, and that is how he created Amy Pond and that whole timeline, because it's very, very similar to both of these things.
It's very
being
true.
kind of stuck in time and trying to meet up and not quite getting there, and the companion always waiting for the other. And that's just, it just pulls on your emotional heartstrings. I don't like crying, but it's like, getting teared up. I love it.
God, I love that because it's like the way he does it as far as subverting your expectation of what you really thought. Okay, this is what I understand concerning the doctor. This is what the doctor has done. This is what he's already gone ahead and revealed or shown to us. But yet, here goes another side that you were like, wow, if I really took the time, I could have seen this happen. But you didn't. But yet it plays out exactly the way it should. Yeah. And it's like, I love that about Doctor.
And you really understand that the Doctor really does lose everyone. Like, he wants to save everyone. He wants to be there for everybody, but he can't. Like, in the couple minutes at the very end where Renette's like, hey, pack your bags, go look outside, pick a star. And it's such a romanticized moment. And it is incredibly brilliant, only to see the fireplace move again and she's already dead. And it's like kind of like Time Traveler's Wife, where it's like, I'm only going to see you one more time. And it's like, oh, I'm so sad. But it's so good. And that's what makes this episode incredibly memorable.
Dude, it's just the way it plays that way. It's just like, ultimately, like, the whole thing is, I mean, later we get the same situation where, if you really think about it, with River. Yes. It was like, okay, this is the last time I get with you. This is the last night I get. So it was like, I have to make sure this lasts. And it was like, oh, great, here goes my little, little twist on the last night that happens, but still, it was still the last night. So it's bittersweet. And it's like every time for the Doctor. I think about it, and it's like, I get so emotional. Well, that's the thing. With the Doctor, it's always bittersweet. Nonetheless, it's like he said, I live forever. You don't. So ultimately, I'll see you age. I'll see you die. And I'll continue on. Yeah. And remember, now the thing is, I have to continue on with your memory. With the love that I had for you, it still stays here. And it still burns, but your fire is already extinguished. And that's hard.
It is. And we're starting to get into it. And in the hands of exceptionally great writers, which I think Moffat is, man, to pull at your heartstrings, even if things don't technically make a whole lot of sense. Like, this episode didn't have too many, like, inconsistencies. No. I loved it, and it's still silly and ridiculous with the horse showing up and all of this other stuff, but I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I even loved the robots. That's like, if you watch Rick and Morty, there's like this butter robot that's like, what is my purpose? You pass butter. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
And like the robots in this too, that's like, they die because they have no purpose. And that you have to find purpose to go on living. Exactly. And then we hear those echoes in Renette's letter to the Doctor at the very end. Oh, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. But
it just plays full circle in that way, and that's what makes it even greater.
Yeah, where it's like, I have the hopes. Like, even though logic tells me you're not going to show up, I have the hope to, like, that you will come and, like, fulfill your promise. And it's like, that kind of dichotomy between like the robots, no purpose, and humans always trying to find purpose even in the darkest of times is what motivates us to keep going. And I'm like, man, I love the themes in this episode. It is so ridiculously good.
Then, but then with that, it also brings that question of, well, what is true life, or what is it to actually be alive? Because here they are, just robots, but they had a purpose, and that was the thing. So they were able to continue on living because they had a purpose. Once they figured out that they had no purpose, the next option for them, being sentient beings, was death.
Yeah. And it's
like,
so
wow.
nihilistic and kind of sad.
It
and it's
is!
like there is no purpose, there is no meaning. Why do I
continue?
Exist?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you have characters that completely undercut this. Not so much in this episode, but like people like Mickey and Rose who have no appreciation for like the things that they're seeing and experiencing and the lives that they're connecting with and the lives that they're losing, and just go on and be like, oh look, guns, oh look, we're gonna play here, oh look, you know, and
muskets, and they're like, you idiots.
Ridiculous. And in this episode especially, I wanted them to be used as parts. Like, go ahead. Like, we didn't know the crew, but they're gone. But you can use Mickey and Rose. I will 100% be down to see the adventures of the Doctor and Renette. Her being very well educated, knowing her place, and like being patron of the arts, and being so enthusiastic about life and so appreciative of everything that she has. She is a companion that I want to see, not Rose, not Mickey.
Big Finish, do us a huge favor, create your own What If set of series, where for one whole season, you do a What If the Doctor had a companion, this person as a companion. Then just go for like 4 2-hour-long episodes, like you guys do, of the Doctor going on adventures with that person, then another one.
Yes.
That would be cool.
I'd be down with that, because there's certain characters that I want to bring back, but we do kind of see them in Amy Pond, like my favorite characters that don't get their full episodes when we get there with Matt Smith, and Moffat takes over that whole section of Doctor Who. It'll be super interesting. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like, I don't have much to say other than this is just a brilliant, brilliant episode.
It was. It's one that sticks with you. It's one that you're going to love. And if you haven't really watched Doctor Who, this is one that you should watch, because you get an understanding of time travel. You get an understanding of just the gravitas that goes along with what the Doctor has to deal with. As far as, like, I'm a time traveler. These are the things that I get to connect with, and these are the things I have to be ready to cut and walk away from at a moment's notice. And you get to see all of that and understand the character of the Doctor and his companions at the same time.
And it's a very self-contained episode where you don't need to know too much about the Doctor or about Rose and Mickey other than they travel together and have adventures. And I feel like the heart in this episode is still there. For those of you in the chat, what would you rate this episode? I think it's pretty clear for both of us. I'm giving it 5 sonic screwdrivers out of 5. This is one of the first episodes of Doctor Who that I like really latched onto. One of my absolute favorites, especially since I didn't like Rose, and she was a companion from the very beginning. That, man, this one is a standout stellar episode for me. What about you?
I definitely agree with you. This episode definitely gets 5 for me. For a show that has to deal with time travel, this is the first time we really actually address time travel. The pitfalls, the pluses, the minuses, pros and cons. We actually get it right here, and we get to understand it and see it from 2 different people's views. One that is a time traveler, and the other one that's being affected by the actions of the time traveler. And I love that. That's something that we want to deal with, and we got it in spades. So this episode gets that 5 from me.
It really does. And like last comment, DDT is like, man, these villains looked fly AF.
Yes.
And they really did. And like, I love like the old automaton kind of like British robot things, and they incorporated it into like the Mac clear skull thing. And like, everything about this episode was great. If you are not into Doctor Who, this is an episode where you could come into and really thoroughly enjoy it. If you like this, proceed from here on out. Maybe go watch the earlier ones that we trash talked. You don't need them.
You don't need to.
They're a lot weaker. This was one of the first very, very strong episodes, other than like maybe Empty Child, the Empty Child like dual series.
Sure.
Those and this. But very few standouts, very few 5s from both of us, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
If you guys, I mean, I'm telling you, this is a great jumping on point if you guys haven't before and you just happen to stumble upon this show today. Jump into TARDIS and ride with us. Trust me, you'll enjoy every minute.
Yeah, and we'll be here every Sunday at 6 o'clock on YouTube talking about Doctor Who. So if you want to join us, let your friends know if they are Whovians. We'd love you to join the conversation.
Yeah, get the word out, man. Let other Whovians know that there's a show that's still doing it right now, and that's us. And we want to build this community and be able to talk to you guys. So definitely tune in, like I said, 6 o'clock every Sunday right here on YouTube for live from Gallifrey with Elle, of course.
I'm Elsie.
It's pretty much a doctor right here.
Yeah,
That's it.
and my companion
me,
for
Daniel.
the Battlestar Galactica. But yeah, I guess until then, you can
comment, share, subscribe to keep up to date with everything trending
in geek pop culture.
Bye. Guys.